What is up, though, Lions fans? It's your boy Chef, and we are back. You already know what time it is. It is time for the YAK Pod, episode number 83. We are moving right along, and I think we are coming kind of towards the end of the slow season when we're talking about content in the off season, because guess what is happening? OTAs are happening, and they are about to be opened up to the media tomorrow. Well, actually, for me, it would be today, but for you guys, it would be for tomorrow. But we are excited to talk about who is going to be at or not who's going to be at OTAs, but what are our expectations for OTAs? Who is going to be there? Who is going to be doing whatever they're going to be doing? Are there people that are not going to be practicing? Blah, 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 blah. OTAs, obviously, is not training camp, but it is the opportunity to get to see the rookies against the veterans. The rookies that were just drafted, like Terrion Arnold. How will he cover Amon-Ra St. Brown? How will he cover a fair against Jameson Williams? And people of this nature. So it is an exciting time, the most exciting time that we will have before training camp begins. What is going on? David Barton, welcome in. He says we have 3.5 months left. You are baking brownies and cookies. The sale starting tomorrow night. Okay. All right. What's that like? What are you doing the sale for? What are you doing the sale for? So again, like I said, we got Terrion Arnold. We're excited to see how he's going to cover those the veteran guys. How's Ennis Rakestraw going to do in coverage? What will we see from Sione Vaki? Is he going to be in coverage as a safety, or is he going to be doing mostly running back drills? So it's very exciting to see those guys inserted. The linemen, not so much excited about those guys because we are in shorts, so they're not really going to be doing too much. Obviously, you're going to be doing your pushing and your pulling, some blocking drills, but nothing really full go. So, yes, these are my expectations. These are the things that I am excited to see. Who else are we excited to see? Again, like we said, Makai Wingo, he's a lineman, so he's really not going to be doing too much in OTAs. Selling cookies for Africa. All right. Okay. Cool. That sounds good. So I'm excited to see, what are you guys in the chat looking forward to from the OTAs? What is the thing that you can't wait to see? And is anybody going to be attending OTAs? Does anyone have any tickets? Let me know. Hey, what is going on, Mile Marker? Glad to see you back. We seem to be okay today as well. So it might be a situation where I don't have to switch the platform. So, Mile Marker, are you going to be making it to OTAs, and what are you most excited about when OTAs are open to the public? David Barton says, Iffy is looking so awesome. Yes. I'm pretty much excited to see how Iffy gets used. Shout out to the Woodward Heavyweights. I saw on their show earlier today, Easy was talking about Iffy being moved to linebacker possibly. And I think there are some packages where that's not crazy. If you say like let's say looking at our schedule, who do we play? We have we're looking at tight ends, because if he was moved down into the box, kind of like a hybrid linebacker safety, he's gonna be covering tight ends. We've got Cole Kmet coming out of the Bears twice a year. Um, Now we have Luke Musgrave and was it Tyler Kraft for the Packers. For the Vikings, we have who do the Vikings even have? Oh, Hawkinson. Okay, but Hawkinson again, like I said before, he's not really going to be um, available for most of the year. I think he's going to miss like at least 13, 14 games. Um, so those are the NFC North tight ends. The Vikings, not the Vikings. The Cowboys have the. Is it Schoonmaker? Is he on the Cowboys? I think it's Schoonmaker. We've got George Kittle for the 49ers. Who else do we have? I don't really know the tight ends for the Texans. Does anybody know the tight end for the Texans? I don't know. So let's see. Who else do we have? Who else do we play? We play the Cardinals. I have no idea who the Cardinals tight ends are. Uh, let's see. We play the Rams. There's Tyler Higbee. Tyler Higbee was injured, and that's the play where Matthew Stafford called Kirby Joseph dirty. So Tyler Higbee will not be playing against us week 1. So I don't know who their other tight ends are. Is Will Dissly still the tight end in Seattle? I'm not exactly sure. Who else do we play against? Trying to remember the schedule offhand, right? Anyway, we know there's a lot of tight ends around the league that if he would have to cover if he was in those situations. And like I said, this would just be a the Colts, yeah, but I don't know who the. We're not playing the Falcons this year though. We played the Falcons last year, so we wouldn't play them again this year. Um, Tennessee. I don't know. I don't know who the tight ends is in Tennessee. Uh, so we play against. Do we play against the AFC South? If so, we would be playing the Jaguars, the Titans, the Colts. Um, yeah, Jaguars, Titans, Colts, Texans, and I don't know any of those tight ends out there. So I would have to refresh myself. I think. Well, actually, you know what? There is Mo Ali Cox for the Colts. That's the only one that I know. I feel like the Texans tight end name is on the tip of my tongue, but I just can't think of it. Um, I don't know, but so with us not being able to think of the names of these people, they're obviously not top tier guys. So it would be interesting to see. It would be interesting to see. Um, so you said I printed the schedule today and I printed the roster as of today's OTAs. Okay. Now mile marker. I didn't see. Were you at OTAs today, or are you going to be at OTAs? Let me know. Because like I said, I think the OTAs are going to be open to the media today or tomorrow. But with Iffy being moved around, I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see what they do because now Aaron Glenn has a different problem. Um, okay, so you're in Northwest Ontario. Okay, I got you. Aaron Glenn now has a different problem. before, the problem that Aaron Glenn had was he didn't have enough pieces. Now he has too many. Now he has too many pieces. And it's not like the pieces that he has are like, okay, clear cut starter here and there, and then just depth piece here and there. No, he's got guys who maybe Iffy is not as good as Brian Branch. Maybe you say that Brian Branch is better than Iffy, but you don't want Iffy off the field. This is the thing. It's like 1As and 1Bs that he's got going on in that safety room, because you're not taking Kirby off the field. You want Brian Branch to be on the field more often, so you'll probably have him at safety at the safety role because if you remember what Kyle Shanahan said that we actually changed up our game plan, so that we could keep Brian Branch off the field as much. Like, we didn't want him to be on the field as much, so we didn't have the type of personnel where it would allow the Detroit Lions to deploy their nickel defense. So they win a lot of, I think, a lot of 12 personnel and things like that. So if we're looking at Kirby, if we're looking at Branch, if we're looking at Iffy, we just don't want them off the field. We don't want any of them off the field. So I understand the depth that we have, but then also, like, it's a good problem to have, having too many guys that you don't want to come off the field. So I don't really know what Aaron Glenn is going to do. I'm excited to see how he deploys these guys and how they are able to, the different packages that he uses and how they're able to gel on the field together all at the same time. I think there are going to be a lot of 3 safety looks. I think there's going to be a lot of, how many cornerbacks do we have that can play? I mean, we've got Carlton Davis, we've got Amik Robertson, we've got Terrion Arnold, we've got Ennis Rakestraw. So we've got 4 cornerbacks that we are looking to see them play all together. So it's going to be tough. Like I said, it's going to be a tough situation to kind of deploy everyone that we have in the secondary at the same time. And what's also going to be good in that situation is that we don't expect there to be a lot of drop off from who's coming out or who's available to be on the field at once. So if you're saying, all right, well, we're going to have Carlton Davis and let's say Terrion Arnold, it's tough. I think everyone is expecting Terrion Arnold because he is the guy that we traded up for, but we have to remember that he's a cornerback. Let me tell you how difficult it is to play cornerback in the NFL. Good evening, Justifan. Good evening. I'm not sure, mile marker, if anyone is sitting out of the OTAs. I haven't seen any of that. I have a picture of Jahmyr Gibbs, who is there, but he's not suited up for whatever reason, and I'll get to some of that later. But just looking at how difficult it is to play cornerback, right? So we're looking at last year, we had Sauce Gardner. Not last year, but the year before last. Sauce Gardner burst onto the scene as a rookie. He won Defensive Rookie of the Year. Can anybody remember the last cornerback that won Defensive Rookie of the Year? And you guys can Google it. Obviously, I don't expect you guys to remember. But does anyone remember the last rookie corner that was Defensive Rookie of the Year? It's extremely hard to transition into cornerback in the NFL. Good evening to you, Justifan. Good evening. And yes, good AM for me. And by the time this stream ends, it'll be an hour before the afternoon starts here. So an hour before noon. So did anybody come up with the answer? Who was the last defensive rookie of the year as cornerback before Sauce Gardner? Right. So then when you look at that situation, and then everyone knows that I was super duper high on Stephon Gilmore, really want Stephon Gilmore in Detroit, wanted. Right now is a situation where I still wouldn't be mad. So Marshawn Lattimore in 2017. Okay. Who was it before Lattimore? Right? Because now the defensive rookie of the year is generally like a linebacker or an edge. Right? A linebacker or an edge. That's what the defensive rookie of the year, like someone like Myles Garrett was probably the defensive rookie of the year. Was Aaron Donald the defensive rookie of the year? So it's usually going to be a lineman, a linebacker, someone like that. To be a safety, to be a corner as a rookie of the year is very, very difficult to do. Marcus Robertson. I don't even remember Marcus Robertson. Wait a minute. Let's see. Who is Marcus Robertson? Marcus Robertson, Chiefs. Does he play for the Ravens now? Right? Does he play for the Ravens now? So, I mean, if you say, all right, so it happened pretty close. Marcus Peterson. Okay, there we go. All right, because I was like, Marcus Robertson, isn't he a receiver? Marcus Peters. Right. So, Marcus Peters, 2015. So, we've had a decent crop. 2015, 2017, and then the next one was what? 2022. So we could have another situation where it's 22 and then 24. We could have 2 years apart. Or we could just have the normal situation where it's 5-6 years apart to have another cornerback as the defensive rookie of the year. Now, even further, how many cornerbacks, and I know this already, I know the answer. How many cornerbacks have ever been the defensive player of the year in the NFL? And who was the last one to do it? And who was the one before him? I know the answer to this because I've already done a stream on this one. Because I had to do my research, so I already know the answer. So I'm going to give you guys who was the last cornerback to be the defensive. Wait, so it's a 3-part question. The first part is how many corners have been defensive player of the year in the NFL? That's the first question. The second question is who was the last one to do it? And the third question is who was the one before him? Deion was not the last one to do it. But Deion is correct as far as the third question. He was the last one before the last person to be the defensive player of the year from the cornerback position. Mile marker, that is not correct. It is not 8. We're talking about pure cornerbacks. They had to be a pure corner. They couldn't be like a safety in a corner splitting time. Sauce was not it. Sauce was the last defensive rookie of the year, but we're talking about defensive player of the year. 8 is close, but it's less than 8. In the 100-year history of the NFL, it has been less than 8 cornerbacks, pure cornerbacks, to be defensive player of the year. You guys want to take some more guesses? It's not 6. It is 5. It's been done 5 times in the 100-year history of the NFL. Dion was one of them. Yes, it is 5. It is 5. So the expectations for cornerbacks to come out and be a dominant force from day one. And I'll tell you one, it's a surprising person that did not win it. Who would you be very surprised if I said this cornerback did not win Defensive Player of the Year? Who would be the most surprising to you? Hop along, Jones. No, the last one to win it was Stephon Gilmore. Stephon Gilmore won Defensive Player of the Year in 2019 when he was with the Patriots. And he was the last one since Dion did it in, I think it was 94. So it was like 25 years in between. Yes, really. So who would you like if I told you, okay, this corner was not one of the 5 to win Defensive Player of the Year? Who would surprise you? You guys have a guess? Who would surprise you? If I said this player did not win Defensive Player of the Year from the cornerback position. I would be most surprised to find out that Darrelle Revis did not ever win Defensive Player of the Year. People say that he probably should have gotten it in 2009. Yeah. Darrelle Revis was not selected as the Defensive Player of the Year ever in his career. People are saying that he probably should have gotten it in 2009, but he did not. So if he should have got it, then that would have just bumped it up to 6. 6 cornerbacks in the history of the NFL. But it didn't happen. He did not get it. So this is why I'm saying, like, the Terrion Arnold thing is very... Obviously, we have high expectations because we drafted him and we're fans of the team. But I'm going to kind of pump the brakes on my expectations from Terrion Arnold. I also played corner, so I know how difficult it is. I never played it on the collegiate level, definitely not the NFL level, but I understand how difficult it is to play corner because you are reacting to everything that's happening. Now, if you are someone like Stephon Gilmore, like if you watch I think what's his name, Brian Baldinger, he did an interview with Brian Baldinger talking about his 2019 Defensive Player of the Year season. So if you go and look at that and you look at how he prepares and you look at like how he watches film, you look at how he understands tendencies and he understands what options are available, just how a receiver lines up, right? So he can look at the alignment of a receiver and he would say, okay, he's going to run this type of route because of the way, like it's either 1, 2, or 3. So like if you're that kind of player and you have that kind of preparation and you understand the game at that level, like you could say that Stephon Gilmore is like a football savant. If Stephon Gilmore is not playing this year, if he hangs it up within the next couple of years, this is a man that I want coaching my DBs. Like I want Stephon Gilmore in Detroit in some capacity. Now the best that you could hope for would be for him to come this year, like after camp. Um, you're, but Stephon Gilmore is still when you look at that Cowboys season last season, he was the top corner. It wasn't Deron Bland. Deron Bland just got the accolades because he was getting all those pick sixes, but Deron Bland would get burnt quite often, right? He's getting pick sixes because he was gambling, right? He was jumping routes. But look at all the opportunities he had to get those pick sixes. And the reason he had all those opportunities to get those pick sixes is because teams were going like, all right, like his cover, his technique is not what Stephon Gilmore's technique is. So if we throw a ball that's on time, he's not picking it off. If we're not telegraphing our throws, he's not picking off. If we're looking him off, he's not picking it off. Now, unfortunately for those other teams, they weren't doing all those things. They didn't execute those things properly. So because they didn't execute those things properly, this is why Deron Bland was able to get 6 pick sixes and set an NFL record. But logic would say, if this man has all these pick sixes, why are you even throwing it to his side? Like after pick six number 3, if he was like that dude, you're gonna be like, we're just not throwing it to his side. Like look at Deion. Deion doesn't have the record for pick sixes because they weren't trying Deion like that. At some point they realized, okay, this Deion guy, we don't want to throw it to his side because it's not going to be completed or it's going to be turned over. There is no getting Deion. There is no, well, his technique is bad, his feet are bad or whatever. So if we can get him out of position, we can go over the top on him. That wasn't the sentiment that was held by NFL teams going against Deion Sanders. So that was the sentiment held by NFL football teams going against Deron Bland. So again, Stephon Gilmore is still, I wouldn't say at the top of his game, but he still prepares like he's at the top of his game, and he still plays at a star level for a cornerback. Maybe not a superstar level like he used to be, but he's still a star. So I think he has a few more years left in the tank. And I don't know how long his brother is going to be on our roster, especially now, with the upgrades that we provided to that cornerback room. I don't know how long he is able to stick around unless he's been working with his brother for like the entire offseason, just getting better, just understanding the game and understanding how to move and anticipate and just be undeniable, because he's going to have to be undeniable to stay on this roster. I mean, he may just stay on the practice squad. But in order for him to get up to the active roster, he's got a lot of work that he's going to have to do. So, like I said, the Stephon Gilmore dream may be dead. It may be dead. Just a fan. So what I had to do is I just had to sacrifice the 1080p and just go to the 720p. Also bought an Ethernet cable to make sure that happens, and turn down the bit rate. So yesterday I had all of that done, but I didn't have the 1080p down to 720. So I just said, man, whatever. This is my last attempt at it, because I really don't want to switch to Streamlabs, because then I have to learn how to use Streamlabs. which obviously I could do, but I would have to take a weekend to do that. So yeah, I think it's working out pretty well. There's still a little bit of flicker with the camera, which is something I'll have to figure out how to fix. But yeah, all in all, I think it works out pretty well. Yes, mile marker is also happy about the no buffering. Mile marker is also happy about the no buffering. So let's look at some of the pictures that we have. Yeah, yeah, justified. I won't look as pretty, but it is what it is, man. At least the content is being delivered, and we have to figure this other stuff out later. So let's check out some of the pictures that we have from OTAs. This is the picture that I was talking about with Jahmyr Gibbs being there, being in his Lions gear, but not being suited up. Now, I don't know if this was a picture of him just getting there. I'm not sure what's going on, but he's there. He's smiling. He's happy. So I don't have any issues with this. They might be just having him take it easy. Obviously, he's not a guy that I guess they need to see in OTAs, right? We know what he can do. We know who he is. We know what he is. So, what do you guys think about? Is this a nothing, or is it a something? What do you guys think? I think it's a nothing. Like I said. All right. Mom Marcus says it's just part of the way Dan does stuff. What about Brian Branch? I am guessing. I am guessing that Brian Branch is most likely still kind of in a situation that we don't want him to be in. And that is in that boot. I can't be 100% sure, but if we're talking about someone being in a walking boot and being on a scooter, I don't know that it's a quick fix. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping I'm incorrect here, but I'm not 100% confident about Brian Branch. I'm hoping it was just kind of a cleanup surgery, and it's nothing major. But I'm trying to be optimistic. Yeah. You said Brian Branch is there, part of the group. Is that mile marker? Are you talking about Brian Branch? It also makes me wonder too, Josephine. I don't want to wonder too much, and I hope it's nothing. But like I said, that's a hard sell if it's nothing. And we see David Montgomery. David Montgomery seems to be in a new helmet. What do you guys think about the helmet? I like Hutch's helmet so much better. I don't really like this helmet from David Montgomery. Someone on Twitter said it gives him Power Rangers vibes. It definitely does. I definitely can see how he would get Power Rangers vibes from this helmet. They said Barnes is participating. Okay. That's good. I mean, I hope everyone is participating. I hope this is what you want to see. You like it? It made you think of Star Wars. uh, so this is what you want to see. Obviously, at OTAs, you just want to see everybody there. You know what I mean? You want to see everybody there unless it's a situation where people just can't make it. And I don't know, that would have to be kind of like a family emergency, or maybe you have jury duty, or you had something that you scheduled last year. Um, yeah, Star Wars pilot. So you just want to see everybody there, especially when you're trying to reach a common goal. And look, this was the issue that they had with Isaiah Buggs last season. Um, Isaiah Buggs had become a leader of the team, and then it just seemed, from all the information that we could piece together, because we didn't really get definitive information, it was mostly centered around his missing OTAs for family stuff or whatever. And what I'm guessing is that the family stuff wasn't like super duper important, maybe. So like for instance, you might not be at OTAs because your one of your children has a birthday party, and it's like, well, OTAs start at a certain time and they finish at a certain time. So why not just have the party after it finishes? You know what I mean? So that's what I mean. You just want to have everybody there. You want to make sure that even if they're not participating, if they're rehabbing something, you just want them to be around the team, getting that time in, getting those mental reps, getting that camaraderie with their team, and that's really what you want to see. So like somebody like DJ Reader, who's been rehabbing his injury. Does anyone know if DJ Reader is there? Because I wouldn't expect him to be there. His physical therapist and all those people that he's been dealing with are probably back in Houston or Cincinnati. Probably Houston. I think he's from Houston. No, he's not from Houston. He's from Carolina. Um, yeah. So and that's a good thing as well. So like we heard from who was it? Tua, right? Tua's not there, or he wasn't there the first day at least, because of a contract dispute. Brandon Ayuk is not there because of a contract dispute. So it's good to be able to go into OTAs and not have contract disputes looming over. Having people not be there, having people holding out, all these things affected by the business of the sport, instead of just the crazy to say. Like if we said that when Brad and Dan come here, this team is going to be a Super Bowl contender within 3 years of them getting here, nobody would have believed it at all. So it would have been crazy. Uh, yeah, we did have a little bit of buffering there, but I think it's back. Um, so, and this is what we were talking about. So we have the David Montgomery helmet here, and now we're gonna see Hutch's helmet, which is so much sweeter than David Montgomery's helmet. I'm sorry. I am sorry. It is so much sweeter. Um, I don't. I think if you're gonna have a, what is going on here, man? I'm buffering again with um. Am I buffering? I don't know, guys. Am I buffering or is it fine? It seems to be buffering on my screen. All right, cool. So if I'm not, if it's just something on my screen, whatever. Um, yeah. So if you're gonna have a face mask, which is like super duper non face mask, like what David Montgomery has, It's just got to be a better design, man. It's got to be a better design. If you're just gonna be all visor like that, it's got to be something epic. It's got to be like a Halo helmet or something. It's got to be better. So I'm going with Hutch's helmet, face mask, visor combo, and I'm for with David Montgomery. It's a no for me. It's a no for me, dog. That's gonna be a no for me, dog. Uh, so does anyone like the Hutch helmet better, or are we still sticking with David Montgomery's helmet? What are we thinking? Like we said, we know I'm a fan of Hutch's helmet. I'm not a fan of David Montgomery's helmet. And I like and I consider myself a futurist. I'm very tech savvy. Um, you need them side by side. All right, let me take me off the screen, uh, and we'll see if we can get them side by side. Let's see. I will put, but I don't know if you won't be able to hear me. I don't think. Actually, you know what? No, we don't even have to do that. We don't even have to do that. What we can do is I'll just overlay it, but I don't know if it'll be side by side. Let's see. It's not really side, but I mean, I guess you could call it side by side. It's David Montgomery's overlaps a little bit. So what are you guys thinking? A black helmet would be great, but you know, those new, I don't even know what kind of blue that is. Uh, you still like Monty's? I just, my problem with Monty's, it looks a bit weird on that left side of his face. That's the only thing. It just looks a bit weird. And maybe that's just the picture. Maybe that's just the way that his head is, and the way that his the light is reflecting off of the visor. But obviously, I would prefer that one to be nice. So maybe, like I said, maybe it's just the angle. Yeah, maybe it's the angle. You said it's wrapped around. Like I said, I would like that one to be a better one, but again, maybe it's just the angle. But then again, I think Zeke was wearing that helmet last year. And I'm trying to remember what it looked like in real time on him. I don't know if I wasn't a fan of the helmet or I wasn't a fan of it just because it was Zeke and I don't like him. He said you need them to breathe like Darth Vader. I feel like Darth Vader running down the field, up and down the field like they do. I don't know about his stamina. So I don't know. I feel like that would be kind of detrimental to the people on the team. He's got blinders, bars down his peripheral vision. I mean, possibly those could get in the way just a little bit. I think there's enough open space for him to see, but you do have a point there, mile marker. Let's look at another picture, and this is kind of a first look type of picture. Let's see what this looks like. This is our first look at Carlton Davis in Lions gear. This is our first look at Carlton Davis in Lions gear. What are you guys thinking? Looks good or nah? I think it looks pretty good in that Lions blue, right? In that Honolulu blue. Um, right. The shutdown, the self-proclaimed shutdown corner, who I really need to be a shutdown lockdown corner. And not really just for the obvious reasons that it would help us on the field and it would help us win games, but also because of the Cam Sutton situation. All right, the Cam Sutton situation where he was brought in to be the shutdown corner. Okay, I can't even say Cam Sutton was brought in to be a shutdown corner. Cam Sutton was just brought in to be an upgrade over whatever else we had at the time. And again, I will keep saying, even though he's a strangler, even though Cam Sutton chokes people, I will say that in the first half of the season, all the way up until I believe week number 12 or game number 12, he was fine, right? He wasn't splashy. Did Cam Sutton have any interceptions last season? I don't think so. I don't remember him having any interceptions. But he wasn't splashy, and he wasn't flashy, but you didn't hear his name a lot. And that was something that, like an offensive lineman, you don't want to hear an offensive lineman's name. When you hear a cornerback's name, you want to hear that he knocked away a pass or that he got an interception. But you don't want to hear his name. If you don't hear his name and no targets get thrown his way, that means he's done a hell of a job all game. So you weren't hearing his name a lot, and they weren't going to his side a whole lot because he was clearly the best corner that we had at the time. So just for Carlton Davis to come in and say he's going to be a shutdown corner, he's going to take away one side of the field, I need him to be that. Terrion Arnold saying that we got a star. I need him to be that. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to see them eat their words. I'm not one of those Lions fans that actively roots against our players. Unless it's Jeff Okudah. Cam was okay until he choked. Oh, well played, Justin Fan. Well played. Hey, Paul Thomas. Glad to see you here again, buddy. And you've come at a time where I'm not having the technical difficulties today. So that is awesome. And hopefully we got them fixed pretty much going forward. There has been just like one buffering session that happened. But that was that. I'm glad it is your favorite channel now. And hopefully others have the same impression. And they will come in droves, and then we can do mailbag segments and things of this nature. So yeah, I don't actively root against our players. I want our players to win. I want our players to get better. Just like the whole JMO, I just don't understand the JMO hate. I had a conversation with someone on X yesterday, and it was just to say, it was just a lot of, you're saying that you want him to be great, you're saying that you want him to go off and to develop, but underneath what you're saying, it just doesn't seem to be that. You know what I mean? So if you unlock JMO, you really unlock him, how are you stopping the offense? And this is my question. With someone with his talent and his speed, and we've seen it on display, how are you stopping this offense? This is my, like, if JMO and Goff are on the same page, you've got Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta who are going to eat up the middle. You've got Jameson Williams, who's taking the top off the defense. He's the type of guy that can take a 2-yard slant to the house. We don't have that in any other receivers. You got DPJ, who also is a downfield threat. He's a contested threat maven, like contested catch. Sorry, contested catch maven. If you haven't watched DPJ's Cleveland highlights, go and watch them. The man is a beast. The man will catch a ball over the middle, get smashed in the face, hold on to it, and get up and start talking to you. All right. So with those 4 pass catchers, because I'm not going to call Sam Laporta a receiver, obviously, because he's a tight end. With those 4 pass catchers, if everyone is doing their job and everyone is on the same page with Jared Goff, that is just my question. When we drop back to pass, you can't double everybody, right? You can't double everybody. And DPJ is huge, yes. So I don't understand how you stop the offense. And I think the key to completely unlocking this offense is to get JMO involved all season long. If he's, 800 yards through the air, 200 to 400 yards on the ground, because I really believe he can get 400 yards on the ground. I mean, he eats up 30, 40 yards every time he touches the football when it's on one of those jet sweep reverses. So I definitely believe that he could be 10 carries, 200 yards. It's not far-fetched. My 4th receiver right now, I guess it has to be Green. I don't think they have anybody else. No. The 4th right now, I think, would be Khalif. Yeah, it would be Khalif Raymond. Paul Thomas. You mean the people in the chat would get tweaked? See, Traquan Smith, I don't know enough about him to think that he's going to be my 4th receiver. And then when we picked him up, there wasn't like a whole lot of hoopla about signing him. I think when did we pick him up? Early in the offseason, yeah? So, yeah, I don't really know. Traquan Smith. I have to go look at him some. Who did he play for last season? Yeah, I don't think Smith is gonna come in and be like major. Like I said, it was an under the radar type of signing. Like it didn't really move the needle. I remember Traquan Smith's name. I remember seeing him play, but I don't remember where he was playing. Did he play for the Bucks with Tom Brady? Is that the Traquan Smith we're talking about? So we talked about that earlier, Paul. I don't think he's going to have a big impact immediately, and I think that's okay because we were talking about how difficult it is to be a corner in the NFL, and some of the things we talked about was the fact that only 5 cornerbacks in the history of the NFL have won Defensive Player of the Year, and Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year. Is not something that happens quite often for a cornerback. We had Marcus Peters in 2015. We had Marshawn Lattimore in 2017. And then in 2022, we had Sauce Gardner. So there was a big gap. And usually Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year goes to a lineman or a linebacker. So I'm not expecting Traquan Smith. I'm not expecting Terrion Arnold to have a large impact. I'm not expecting it. I welcome it, But if it doesn't happen, I'm not going to be upset. Yes, just a fan, I did. I appreciate you reminding me every day, because sometimes we forget. But yes, I did. I'm getting in the habit. I'm getting in the habit of what I should have been in the habit before, which was sharing it like right before it starts. So, no problem, Paul Thomas. I'm happy to recap and to recall. That's what the memory is for. If you don't use it, you will lose it. Um, so Broncos last year and Saints before Traquan Smith. I do remember Traquan Smith being on the Saints. Yes. What were his numbers? Does anybody remember his numbers on the Saints? You know what? I remember him being decent, actually. I remember him being decent. Will our defense be close to top 10 this season? Here's the funny thing, David. Our defense was, I believe, top 10 before the Baltimore game. And then when we ran into Baltimore, that buzzsaw cut us down, and we weren't anywhere near top 10 against the pass. Obviously, against the run, you would have to average those things out. I think against the pass, we were like 27th. Against the run, we were top 2. I think we were number 2 against the run. So if you average all of those things out and you just go, all right, just cut it straight down the middle, we're like, what? 28 divided by 2, 14, right? So we're around 13 and a half, 14. Yeah, that Baltimore game was awful. Two fumbles total since his start in 2018. Well, that's good. Was that one fumble every 3 years? That's fantastic. Will Rakestraw start game 1? I don't think so. I don't think Rakestraw is going to start game 1. Because then here's the question: who's he pushing out? Who is he pushing out? The expectations are higher for Terrion Arnold. Rakestraw was taken 61. I did not want Rakestraw in the first round, but the fact that we got him in the second round, I think that was an excellent value pick. But I think people are forgetting about Amik Robertson. And the thing, we signed him, and he got that deal, and he got that money, and then they drafted 2 cornerbacks. And if you follow Amik Robertson on X, there's a lot of self-talk. There's a lot of motivational talk that he never forgets where he came from, and he never forgets his journey and how difficult it was. So he's not a guy that got a larger contract than what he was used to and is going to rest on his laurels. So I think, this is the reason that Brad Holmes said it's going to be a bloodbath. The competition in that cornerback room is just going to be crazy. It's just going to be crazy. See, my marker says he can tell he's in research mode. No, not at all. No problem. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people have. So I don't think that Robertson is going away quietly. I don't think he looks at himself as a super sub at all. I think he looks at himself as a starter. He was a starter with the Raiders because of injury and the fact that Marcus Peters just sucked down the stretch, and then ultimately just quit on the team, and they cut him when he refused to make that tackle. and they just cut him. So I don't think Amik Robertson wants the feeling of being a starter to go away. And he plays, he may be 5'8", but he plays like he's 6'2". You know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting to see. But Rakestraw, I don't envision him starting game one. Now, here's another thing that I was talking about before. I envision all of them playing. I envision Terrion Arnold playing game one. I envision Ennis Rakestraw playing game one. I feel like there are going to be some packages that include these guys just to get them on the field. If Ennis Rakestraw doesn't just suck, right? You expect him to be on the field at some point during this season. If he's just okay, and suck is a bad word, right? If his development doesn't come along fast enough, then you're not going to expect him to be on the field. So it's important to listen to what AG is saying. So when camp starts, just listen to what AG is saying about Rakestraw and Arnold, because he's obviously gonna be asked questions about them probably every day while the media is there. So just listen to his answers, and that'll tell you like how much they're going to be trying to get those players on the field. And I think that's going to help you to understand like what are the expectations that the coaching staff has. And this is the whole thing when I talk about JMO and people that are still like not understanding that both Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell expect Jameson Williams to be the number 2 receiver on this team this season. Like they expect it. They're gushing over him. And this was the thing that I said when I was having this argument with this guy on X. It was like, why would Brad and Dan be gushing over this man unprompted, right? If you ask a question about someone, you don't have to gush over them in your answer. Look at how Brad or how Dan answered questions about Jameson Williams right before the suspension came out. Right before the suspension, when he was asked about Jameson Williams and being there or whatever, he was like, yeah, he's here. He's in the room. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't a situation where he was enthusiastic about him. He probably knew something about the suspension getting ready to come down, and he was disappointed. Obviously, it wasn't Jameson's fault. The rules were ambiguous, and he wasn't even betting on the NFL. So, whether he agreed with it or disagreed with it, he's like JMO put himself in that situation. So, these are the things that we have to look at. Hey, John F. and Lord, you are off work when we are getting off air. Thank you, Just a Fan. As always, I appreciate you guys for hanging out. I am excited about not having technical difficulties today. It's been a long time since we've been able to have just a pure stream without a bunch of buffering, without having to restart the computer, without having to do any of that stuff. So I appreciate you guys for hanging out. Hopefully tomorrow will be the same. We won't have any of the technical issues and difficulties. Smash that like button on the way out if you didn't smash it on the way in. Share on the way out if you didn't share on the way in. And I know you guys are subscribed, so I appreciate you subscribing. And I appreciate you liking. I appreciate you sharing. And most of all, I appreciate you just hanging out and being in the chat and providing me with more content to talk about. So as always, until next time, peace.